Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Once again, I'm Nerf from NASDAQ, but today I want to gab a little bit about education. The education system, big thing in news right now is that the U.S. government, the incoming government, is going to eliminate some student debt. But why eliminate some student debt when we could just get to the root of the problem? It seems like we're treating the symptoms and not actually the actual issue. Now, what I think is definitely going to help with this situation, the same way that Amazon's going to help with the pharmaceutical market, is the internet is going to bring down the education system just a notch. I'm not saying we need to break it all down and burn it and start from new, but what I am saying is that it's way too damn expensive to get education. Man, let's face it, the boomers had this thing where they went in, they got education super cheap. They told their children that you need to get post-secondary education if you want to get anywhere in life. And while taking the reins of the post-secondary education scene, have exploded the price. It is unbelievably difficult to get an education these days if you're in the type of situation where you're just getting out of high school and you don't have anyone raining money down on you. I know so many people that have the problem where they can only get so much money based off of what their parents make. The bank making the parents, and sometimes these parents are sometimes like men and women are stepping into families and then being expected to put money up for these children, but children that aren't even theirs. So that'll get you in a bit of a sticky situation too. But it's unbelievably expensive. Schooling is unbelievably expensive. Unit per unit, if you're talking apples to apples, not apples to oranges, schooling is unbelievably expensive these days compared to what it was for the boomers. And I love the way that the boomers like to say, oh, well, back in my age, my father said, yeah, I managed to do it by sleeping in the porch. Now, within Canada, I'm sure within northern USA, a lot of the times houses have porches, these places off the front that are totally sealed in, but there's no energy, no hydro within it. No, well, maybe it has a bit of hydro, but it's really cold in the winter. My dad slept in there, and he was like, yeah, well, you can do something like that. You can't do that these days. They have inspectors that see this stuff, and they don't allow it. Your neighborhood watch won't allow that kind of stuff. We're just in a situation where that is not possible. Now, I just got through a big Reddit post about this, and Reddit comments are really interesting things because you get actual people in actual places that'll tell you actually how things are going. And one explanation that I got from someone that watches the books at a really expensive educational place, I wouldn't exactly say what, but by the sounds of it, they knew what was going on. So you get teachers who are there to teach, which is what a freaking educational place is for. If you have a university, if you have a college, your primary thing is to freaking teach. Teach. That's what you're there for. But we got so many teachers coming in who are just on research and development. Wait. Research and development at a university? That doesn't blow my mind. But the same thing, if you want to have this research and development to make your school more illustrious, if you want to figure things out, if you want to solve problems in the universe, I get that. But don't put the cost on the students coming in. If your research and development is good enough that you actually solve problems that can help the world, especially in the USA, especially if it's medical, you're going to get so much money. You're going to get so much money for all of this stuff. But I have a feeling that this research and development fund comes in and doesn't exactly rain down to help the students. I bet there's no trickle down effect when it comes to anything like that. So this research and development bringing in more money. Now I really want to see these schools, how much they make. Do they have shareholders? Do they have a CEO? If so, that's wrong. Educational places should not have a CEO, a CFO, unless maybe they're unbelievably huge, but they're not supposed to be banking money. These educational places are supposed to be using their money to help society, to educate people, to help. If they have a ballooning bank account that isn't being pointed at anything, while there is human suffering and issues going on in the world, just letting that sit, letting that grow, there is an aspect of miserdom to them. If you know what a miser is, a miser you used to talk about them quite a lot, where there were people that just took money, just had money. They didn't care how they lived. They didn't care what was going on. They didn't care if they were filthy. All that mattered to them was that they had money in the bank. There could be rats crawling across their feet, running up their legs, but at least they had money in the bank. And if we have if we have school institutions that are doing this, then that's totally unconscionable, and we absolutely shouldn't. Getting me back to the point that the internet and technology will balance this. We'll balance it the way that Amazon is about to balance the pharmaceutical market, and that's by using technology and free information. There's a lot of free information out there. There's a lot of situations where, for example, a new microchip is coming up. I think it's an ARM chip that is totally open source. People who work at Intel, people who work at this, people who work there are taking their information and throwing into an open source thing. And then other companies are going to adopt this open source stuff because it's cheap. And because it's cheap, everything's going to get better. Everything. This is a game changer. But at the same time, that's what's going to happen with education. We got a lot of people with a lot of good information. Let's face it, a lot of programmers, a lot of computer people know that our society in North America is being held up with technology based off help on YouTube and various other places on the internet with technical support from people who hardly understand the language, from people who switch between Hindi and English back and forth. And God damn it, we're better off for it, and that's awesome. That's a little bit of globalization helping us out. This information, a lot of it, the only unfortunate part of it is it's not like true knowledge. But you get your knowledge. You get your knowledge with this technology. We can take that information, that knowledge, and spread it around. Jordan Peterson has posted most of his lectures online. If JP can do this, why can't more people? I'm not saying everyone agrees with him or whatnot, but he's University of Toronto. He worked at Harvard, okay? Someone like this. So if we have people, professors who are actually out there to help the universe, we're going to be seeing more of this stuff. And even though we can't, even though we're not going to get pieces of paper from listening to them, it'll definitely improve the universe. So we have the means, we have the measure, we have the ability, we have the Gutenberg press that is YouTube. The Gutenberg press absolutely changed everything because after that happened, bam, all of a sudden we could print off whatever we wanted. No longer were we bound by the constraints of in biblical times where the priest, the bishop, was the only one who could interpret the Bible and make up stupid things like you could pay money to get your sins absolved and go to heaven. All of a sudden the press comes out, the Gutenberg press, everybody has a Bible, and because of that, few people learn to read and they figure out that the stuff that they're being told is BS. And then the Luther comes into it and he says, you know what, all this info you got, it's BS. I think we're in the situation right now with the educational system that Luther is going to step in. We are going to have a Luther step in, nail something to the church wall saying this is what we expect. We expect reasonable prices for this stuff. We expect to actually be able to get jobs with this stuff. Isn't it amazing that the government has you and educates you for what, 12 years, and all you can do is flip burgers and maybe mop some floors? Is that the best that we can do with that level of education? Seriously? I mean, something's wrong here, and technology is going to change it. And love technology or hate technology, it's not technology. Whatever you hate technology for, I bet you don't actually hate technology for it. You hate the way it changes humans. You hate the way humans use technology. A lot of people says money is the root of all evil, which is incorrect. The love of money is the root of all evil, but money in itself is inanimate. The devil's not touching that stuff. It's what you and your heart decide what you're going to do with that. And that comes down to the schooling system. If you're going to take education money for research and development that's not even going to support itself, then you have an issue. You absolutely have. If your research and development isn't paying for itself. But let's face it, we all know that's not how it's going. We know that students are throwing money into it. People are using the system to get money on the upper hand. And then there's other people in research and development who are doing all this stuff at the cost to the end user, to the proletarian at most points, or the government-backed loans are taking this. They're making this research and development that they're going to get a heck of a lot of money for. A heck of a lot of money for. And you know that money's not going to go back to the end user. Now, at the same time, we all heard that Harvard has a whole bunch of money, but a lot of people, if they're smart enough, they don't even have to pay for it because of the money coming from Harvard. But at the same time, if Harvard has that ballooning bank account, is there nothing in the world they could spend that on that would alleviate suffering, that would help the universe? All I'm seeing is institutions with ballooning accounts. I'm seeing hospitals that have CEOs that all they care about is making money. They fought Trump so hard to make sure that they didn't have to list the prices that everything costs. It's just universally stupid. Like, let's face it, there's definitely some problems when it comes to communism, and we can see those up close and personal, but late stage capitalism, when it comes to healthcare and stuff like that, like, let's face it, Europe had late stage capitalism a long time ago, and they have this healthcare thing figured out a lot better than they do in America. So we're starting to see some issues. The healthcare system, the educational system, we have a lot of people who like money more than freedom, more than other people's freedom, and they like money more than the world around them, unfortunately. But we also have a situation where people think that if they're making money, they're automatically being a good person because they're within the society. Now, at the same time, I want to bring this back to that idea that you could pay money to the priest to get yourself or somebody who was dead to get their sins absolved so that they could go to heaven. If you have a lot of money, Wolf of Wall Street said that if you have a lot of money, you can take this money and you can make yourself a better person. You can pay for homeless this, you can pay for that. You can absolve your sins. You can absolve your social justice sins with the finances that you get. The problem is still here, and the problem exists within people who have a lot of money. They go speeding, they get a bill. Is that bill the same if I went speeding? If me and a rich guy sped and we both got the same bill, that bill would hurt me a lot more than it would hurt them. And there's something to be said about that. Late stage capitalism in the USA is different than late stage capitalism anywhere else. Something's got to change. It's hurting people when it comes to education and with the health system, and that ain't right. And what's really sick is a lot of these people are God-fearing Christians. Well, they take the money, not help the world, but put the money in their bank account. That's it. I'm not saying I got the answers. I'm just saying it ain't right how much we're putting on people who are either sick or in need of education. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. I can't be too hard on either of these systems because we have, evil though some parts of them may be, we have had a lot of good things come out of them. So you got to take the good with the bad, right? Bad with the good. Have a good one, folks, and take care of each other. Catch you folks later.